So ladies, gentlemen, fellow Kryptonians out there, welcome back to a brand new Superman video. And this video is really just what I said would be coming after we got that behind the scenes look at Superman, which teased all kinds of things that's got our brains and ideas and theories flowing. A follow-up video diving into that, nerding out over those extra looks we got, chucking a couple of recent new things in here as well, and just overall kind of basically a discussion series video in disguise. And not only that, I do feel like there are bits and pieces to talk about and dive into further with what we saw from that behind the scenes look. So without further ado, guys, if you're going to enjoy this video, help your boy out by leaving a like on the video. Consider subscribing for more Superman and DC coverage just like this. But let's get into comment or question or theory or whatever the heck it is, number one here. And I've got quite a lot to get through. I say this all the time. We're going to see how many we can get through, but no promises I'm going to get through tons. So after seeing the behind the scenes look, Drex Lord here says, this definitely made me like the suit even more. I always have been a fan, but also thought and wished it was more form-fitting. I never thought it was baggy, but always wanted it to be tighter to show its musculature. But this definitely made me think it is fitting enough. And I am seeing a lot more people say that after the behind the scenes look. And I've always just said, like, again, I'm not blind. I can see like creases without going down the creases rabbit hole. But I do feel like a lot of those comments were said in certain angles, like obviously from when we saw the suit first revealed properly with him putting his boot on. You know, he was bunched over like that, so you see creases there. But still, it is a suit that is way more prone to creases than that of Zack Snyder's Man of Steel suit or Batman versus, you name it, right? So we're not ignoring that, but I think what people were impatient about initially, and obviously this doesn't apply to everyone because there's still people who just don't like it for that reason, but after more and more looks of seeing Corenswet standing up, and most recently in this photo, we get a bit of Lois and Clark there, and I remember when this was being filmed, which is really cool. It's just kind of deja vu, but here we get another upright look at David Corenswet in the Superman suit, standing up, and there's little to no creases. Now, of course, you might be like, well, Boba, I see a little fold right there. I'm like, okay, all right. That wouldn't ruin it for me. It doesn't really ruin it for Drex Lord, but it may ruin it for you. That's the thing. There's obviously lots of stuff when it comes to Superman suits, Superman castings, Batman suits, Batman castings. You're never, ever going to please everyone in this world, and that's fine. But I do believe that this suit is growing on people, but it's absolutely fine if you still don't dig parts of it. Like, again, I don't feel like I should have to say that, but I'm trying to let people know who comment in the comments section that if you don't like it, that's okay. You shouldn't get attacked for not liking it. I've seen plenty of people who I'm friends with say, man, yeah, I really still don't dig the lines. The trunk, I know Superman's had trunks, but it looks too much like a diaper for the modern age, you know, comic book movie that I would want to see, which I can understand. The collar, that needs to go. Why didn't they use a classic S? Maybe you have all of those complaints. Maybe you only have some of those complaints. I'm not sure. Maybe it is about the thickness or like form-fitting aspect to the suit itself. But for me, while the suit isn't perfect, I have liked the vibe of it from day one. I've actually been a defender of things like the collar, when most people are like, nah, but I don't see what you're on here. Like, how do you like... I like the collar. I have seen the edits, as I mentioned in I think my last news roundup video, of people taking away the collar, taking away the lines. And I get the design they're going for, you know, the more kind of blank canvas Superman suit with just the kind of bold parts of it standing out, like the crest and stuff. But I don't know what it is. Maybe my eye has been trained to Gunn's version of the suit, but I feel like Corenswet looks it's more aesthetically pleasing to me, seeing that collar design and other things like that. Maybe I'll get rid of a couple of lines, maybe not so much around the like van brace, like wrist guard area or whatever, but you know, for the most part, I'm still quite a big fan of this suit. I don't know what it is. Like right here, granted, it is a side profile, but it looks so cool. You know, again, you may have your own thoughts about trunks and this and that, or the thickness of like the, you know, and how it kind of is so thick that it's almost designed to look like a shoulder pauldron. I get that. Like even those parts, I'm like, oh, I don't know, maybe it doesn't need to be that thick there. But overall, looking at it from this angle, I'm like, that is Superman. Again, you might prefer the no-trunk version of Superman because you may view that a bit too much, should stay in the comics kind of thing. Again, there's so many kind of different strokes for different folks here. But if I just looked at it and I didn't know what this was, I'd be like, okay, that is Superman. So up next is from Crunchy Fence. I think the White Martian in the behind-the-scenes teaser could be a depowered Parasite. I can see it being the trope of the scientist who is defeated by the power they were investing in, with Luthor holding Parasite captive and experimenting on him until Superman shows up, where he, Parasite, starts gaining power and defeats Lex, going on to become a bigger threat for the final third act battle, perhaps having something to do with the big pink sphere in the trailers. But it's not just that. We have Zach here saying, love the show, Boba, in regards to the slender alien-looking thing. Do you think that's Parasite? Or perhaps Ultraman is, still maturing and developing? A lot of people are talking about this being Parasite. So when I first broke this down, obviously I was going straight into the breakdown. And if anything, I was like, what the heck is that Slender Man thing? If it kind of, if anything, looks like a white Martian-y, hollowed out kind of vibe to the character. But I said that with absolutely no conviction. Now, ever since then, a lot of people have been saying, what about Parasite? Parasite has been a villain that has been in a discussion of fans' minds and theories and ideas for this film, going way back to the idea of who is this man in the black suit with the U on his chest? Is it Ultraman? Is it Ulysses? Is it going to eventually be an Ultraman mixed with like an amalgamation of Bizarro? Again, adaptations don't copy and paste, so they may be doing a blend of things. But some people said, what if it is straight up Parasite? Now, I wouldn't rule against that at all, just because one thing I've tried to make clear, as much as I keep saying Ultraman for simplicity's sake, I don't know. Is it a clone? Is it really a clone? Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. Because Ultraman was never going to be an alternate universe evil Superman from the crime syndicate. I couldn't tell you that for a fact, but I'd be willing to bet quite a reasonable amount of money that they weren't going to sling some guy, like Lex wasn't going to just yeet a Superman out from an alternate universe. So I always knew whoever this black suited figure was, if it was a clone, would be borrowed inspiration from different versions of stuff. So yeah, that's where maybe you could do a degrading Superman clone who looks more like Bizarro as the movie unfolds. This is why maybe he's covered up in the black suit, because the yellow sun degrades him. Things like that. But the Parasite thing, in conjunction with this white Martian-esque Slender Man thing, could be a thing, right? Because that would make sense as to how they have been successful against Superman, like absorbing and replicating Superman's own powers against him. Maybe that is why he's covered up. Now, the guy under the black suit, if it was that Slender Man-looking figure, obviously isn't the same figure, but they could just blame that on powers or something. It's like, I'm powering up, so I'm now under this suit and I'm filling the form in. I don't know. So I'm not saying that this isn't Parasite, because you look at various Parasite designs, and it's like, okay, you could do something like that. Maybe Gunn's borrowed from a design like this. Maybe, just maybe. But that doesn't mean that this character wouldn't be separate to whoever is under that black suit. Maybe there's Parasite, this slender man-looking, creepy, ghouly figure, white Martian-looking figure, as well as whoever is under that black suit. So I'm really of so many minds about this. Plus, there's even the artwork on some of the Superman books that are coming out, like the Heroes and Foes thing, and you can clearly see that this Ultraman black-suited figure has a purple highlight hue to him. And again, full transparency, as I said in my previous video, I'm colorblind. No, that doesn't mean you see in black and white. It means, however, certain shades to things I really might not be able to tell the difference with. So I said, but I don't know if that's just a thing that the book is taking creative liberty with, because in the trailers and stuff, to me, it's always been a black-suited figure. But I got a bunch of replies from you guys saying, no, Boba, you're definitely colorblind, because it's definitely had purple to it. Of which I was like, okay, has it? So let's just say it does, for argument's sake. In the live action footage, have a bit of purple to it. The reason why we're talking about the purple to the suit is because of the Parasite vibes. So without us going round and round and round in circles about this, yes, I think that the Slender Man looking figure could be perhaps Parasite. It would be interesting as well that Lex could take this being out of his pocket dimension prison, if you will, to use against Superman. And that is what we could be seeing here, right? Because you have Lex standing there, you have this Parasite-esque figure in like cuffs or something, you have backup Lex troopers, and maybe he's getting him out to enlist him to help him. And you could argue this is Parasite in a depowered mode, similar to even All-Star Superman. And when put into the black suit, I don't know. Like, you see where I'm going with this, where it starts to fall apart, but I wouldn't rule that out at all. It's definitely for sure interesting, but I would agree with what some of you are also saying with what I was just getting into, like Michione, One Man 8321, saying, wait a minute, something just clicked in my brain. What if they're doing a Cadmus storyline? That'd explain the white, weird-looking alien thing, and the kaiju. I'm 99.9% sure Lex is capturing and using metahumans for sadistic Cadmus experiments in his pocket dimension. And yeah, so he's probably got a backlog of metahumans, aliens, all kinds. But Metamorpho in that reflection seems to be there somehow, and like lighting up some kind of glowy something to enable Superman to maybe punch his way out. There's a lot to think about there, but let me know what you think about that white figure being Parasite. Do you think that the white figure being Parasite is just a depowered version of the black-suited figure, so once they're in the black suit, they can fill out? I don't know. Do you think the black-suited figure is indeed separate and is still a clone of Clark Kent's Superman? And I also wonder how much more the official trailer is going to give away with this, because more little contextual clues that I could pick up on. We all could start putting pieces of the puzzle together. So it's going to be exciting to see. Now, Nino X32T Gret WH says, I think we don't talk enough about how the Hammer of Baravia armor is actually fully physical, and it moves and looks so well in camera. That surprised me just as much as the Metamorpho look. Yeah, I agree. It does look really awesome. Now, granted, it is kind of further away, like, and in a darkly lit section, a very brief glimpse in the behind-the-scenes teaser, but that is really cool to imagine what else they're doing. Like, are we going to see the Hammer of Baravia versus Superman fight that was hinted at in that Daily Planet newspaper, where it says Hammer of Baravia causes havoc downtown? They refer to him as a mystery man, so people don't know who this dubbed Hammer of Baravia is. But yeah, I feel like that suit would look really cool with up-close practical shots. Obviously, there would be CGI shots of that character with more quick movement choreography and stuff, but it's cool to know that they've built something like this, because it will allow for like really cool up-close shots, and when they can use it practically and do something like that, they will. The Hammer of Baravia, man, there's a lot of theories about this as well. How much are we going to see him? Will we see him more if it is really Lex under that suit? Is this a suit that belongs to someone else, but then Lex takes over because he's like, if you want something done, you have to do it yourself, so he gets in there and it does become a bit of like a first wave war suit of his? And I call it something like that is because it could be seen as war suity, but it's still not like proper typical war suit. But we're gonna have to wait and see. But yeah, either way, with the Hammer of Baravia, very intrigued to see if that's a whole separate character. But also on the suit front, we have Motorola SWN here saying, don't judge me, I really love the suit, but what's your take on the rumor that he gets a new suit at the end of the movie? I don't think he will. I've been saying this the whole time. I think the Superman suit and even the Lord Tech suits that we see in the film will be the suits that we see throughout the duration of the whole film. Maybe you could argue, since he's been active for a little while, he could have, since he's got the fortress like Batman, other suits somewhere. Maybe not, laid out as they are sometimes in the Batcave, but that would be a cool thing to see. But I don't know. My gut is telling me that design we're seeing, the Kingdom Come symbol, the trunks, the way it is, will be the suit we see. Maybe he's got a different, copy of it, because we know it gets burnt up by the kaiju at one point. I don't know if it's like a self-healing nanotech suit, or if he's actually got another one that he puts on. That's the question, but yeah, long story long, I think his will stay the same. I'm pretty sure the Lord Tech heroes will stay the same, but I do expect this natural evolution in their story to be like, hey, we don't need to be corporate-sponsored heroes under the rule of, or under the leadership of a billionaire Maxwell Lord. So they could maybe hint at new suits for Hawkgirl and Guy Gardner and whatnot, but yeah, I would love to know if anyone has any updated thoughts on this. Now, up next from Jails15. Do you think John Murphy's score will be as inventive as Hans Zimmer's score was for Man of Steel? This is a tough question in the sense that I haven't obviously heard much of the movie's score. So I want to give John Murphy's ability to, with what he does create that is new, I want to give him the benefit of the doubt to have maybe, created something that is so unique and has its own footprint in the Superman, mythos in like history of Superman live action. Now, that being said, though, it is reusing the Superman theme. It injects John Williams' theme in a way that I really respect. Like, even that first teaser of the teaser where it's like that's cool. I really loved that angelic vibe. In fact, I kind of am half annoyed that we haven't seen it or heard of that since. I hope that's in the movie. Like that little glowy, angelic, heavenly, it just felt so Kal-El to me. Like, maybe it's something that will play in the Fortress. I don't know, but I love that. So I love what he's doing there. But at the end of the day, I don't know if I'd quite call that inventive. You used the word inventive. What Hans Zimmer did, is by, I think, its definition, inventive. There wasn't really, hey, we're going to put the da-da-da-da-da-da-da into the Man of Steel theme for Henry Cavill. That was truly this beautiful track with those piano notes. Like, it's just incredible. Absolutely incredible. So, a part of me wants to say I struggle to truly believe that John Murphy's score will be as inventive. That doesn't mean bad, but truly inventing its own thing. But then again, just because they are using John Williams's core heartbeat of the Superman theme, that has, as a result, become quite synonymous with Superman. So I get why they're using it, because it's like, hey, let's honor the past, but also do something new. So they're going to use his theme. It's evidently there, all while doing something new. But also, outside of those main David Corenswet, James Gunn Superman themes that are using the John Williams vibe to it as well, there will be entirely new tracks that are a part of the score of this film, like the Lois and Clark theme that is playing, that we've heard is playing when they're floating up in that shot from the trailer. And God knows how many other themes. Like, what is the Clark Kent theme? What is the Daily Planet theme? What's the Lois theme? All of these things. That could be inventive, But overall, the main vibe, all without, again, having heard the score myself, I feel like the main vibe is kind of doing a rendition of the John Williams Superman theme, which again isn't a bad theme. I've been saying theme so much, but I feel like that's more rendition than inventive. It's cool-ass rendition. Love the way that slaps in the trailers with like the boom boom of the drums, as we got like a newer version with it when they released that CinemaCon extended footage at the end of the sneak preview. That version of it was like went so hard. And then you have the angelic one. Like, I love that, but on like a critical thing, like if you wanted to create something new, I don't know if you could quite say they've done that as much as what Hans Zimmer did for the Superman of that era with Zack Snyder. So Victor Lazo 238 says, any clue on what is that giant purple ball? Now, we've been all over the place with this. We initially said, okay, it's probably Solaris, but then I was like, oh, what if it's like the satellite from the Justice League International comics? Somebody sent me a Twitter DM. I was like, oh my God, it really does kind of seem reminiscent of that. And now people are saying, what if this parasite theory is true and it's like such a souped up parasite, it's just turned into a big floating purple ball and it's just going crazy. I don't know. But then you also have that like little Zeta tube, boom tube thing that the Hammer of Baravia is coming out of, and some people are like, could it be that? But I still feel like that's a stationary thing that teleports you from somewhere to somewhere else, maybe with a receiving Zeta tube kind of thing, rather than that being a thing that shoots out that beam. Plus, in the new kind of footage we got of these recycled scenes, as we went over, you can see Guy Gardner's Green Lantern ring shoot out like this green beam at this floating giant purple ball. And that giant purple ball has got like these tendrily kind of things, and it's kind of moving around a bit more like this, right? And that makes me think of Solaris again. Now, do I truly think that this is like some kind of sentient sun from the future brought back to present day, and it's just, yeah, this giant artificial sentient futuristic sun brought back to terrorize Metropolis? I don't think it's going to be so much Solaris from the comics, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's obviously something done by Lex Luthor. I think it will have heavy Solaris influences into it. It won't necessarily have that Solaris origin. They could, combine it with another influence, as some people have been suggesting. What if it is something to do with the Parasite thing, the Ultraman thing, or whatever? Or just like a whole separate Lex Luthor thing that he's doing in general. Like maybe this was borrowed from his pocket dimension as well. There's so much unknowns there, but I feel like now I'm leaning more on the side of this is another sorcery thing, as Gunn likes to say about Lex Luthor, that he's unleashed on the city. And it could be in a similar way to All-Star Superman. Not like, it's not going to kill him, but the radiation could be pretty dangerous to him from whatever that is. And that's why, I found it interesting with that new look. You have Superman looking out the window at it, and I think he's about to go out there, but you almost have Lois, like, looking way more alarmed than she ever did in the other looks. As if she was like, no, don't go out there. I don't want to lose you. I'm not saying she is saying that, but it's almost like she is concerned at the prospect of him going out there. More concerned than you would normally be with Superman, because with Superman you'd think he'd be fine, but maybe he wouldn't be up against this big blob. I'm not sure. I know I keep saying I'm not sure. Obviously, none of us truly know, but I would say there's more similarities visually with Solaris, granted that the coloring isn't so much Solaris. That's something I will say. And it's still got the purple hues of this Parasite kind of vibe to it all. The same purple hues that you could argue is on the black-suited Ultraman-esque figure, right? I don't know, maybe we are all looking into it too much, and it is just a conjuration of Lex's. But let me know if you disagree with me there, or you want to kind of expand on what Gunn could be doing, even if it's like an amalgamation, maybe like representation, like visually Solaris, but maybe there is more going on there with an amalgamation of a couple of characters. So from Jabros2574, man, I see this one a lot. Did you see the Bizarro cape? And what do you think about it? So I believe you're referring to this. I don't think that's the Bizarro cape. This has been going on for a long time now, ever since the first teaser. You had like, the flipped scenes in the trailer where the House of El symbol was reversed. Like, long story long, I don't think there's a literal Bizarro wearing Corenswet Superman costume with a flipped cape and a flipped symbol here. It's all the like, we've seen it before with trailer edits. Sometimes they just like to flip the image, even when it's not flipped like that in the movie. Sometimes it is just a lens thing, especially in a behind-the-scenes thing like this. So I don't think there is a Bizarro cape. I'll hold my hands up if I'm wrong when the movie comes out, but Again, I'm not saying there isn't going to be potential Bizarro qualities to a potential theorized clone under that black-suited figure, but I think that whole theory going from way back when about Superman, or like this clone going out there defaming Superman in his suit, or a similar suit to it, but flipped, I don't think that holds up, and I don't think it will hold up. So O'Shea Goodman 9393 says, I believe the Engineer is with Lex to stop Superman, but still has her own secret plan, to which may lead to the Authority film. Hopefully that gets off the ground with the script completed, which, yes, as we know, to the latter of what you said there, the Authority film has had some issues, as Gunn has said, which is why there's a rumor from a while ago, which I'm not forgetting about. And I think it was even more than a rumor, actually, in how one of maybe the current DC projects could be turned animated. And Gunn spoke about that, or acknowledged that, and the Authority just seems like the one that would make the most sense if it isn't working out in the live action. But the reason why we want to talk about that is because of the Engineer. Now, I really hope in the official trailer, my God, we see powers showcased. please, at this point, it's kind of like craving to see the Silver Surfer in the Fantastic Four trailers. Now we've got that. Now, I say Silver Surfer because, well, we know that the Engineer should kind of look like that when her nanotech liquid metal abilities are being used. And also a little new tidbit here, finally going back to what the question was. We had Maria Gabriela de Fria. She spoke apparently about how her character wants something specific, as DCU Updates re-reports here. So she wants something specific, what Lex wants, and her character is grappling with what price you're willing to pay. I found that very interesting because it kind of tells me that the Engineer, well, as we know, she goes on canonically, and we were and maybe are still getting an Authority movie or animated movie, whatever the hell they end up doing with it. They aren't villains, but they aren't your staple, moral compass heroes like Batman, Superman, Martian Manhunter, Wonder Woman, etc. They will do things like the boys, kind of, right? The boys, like Huey, Mother's Milk, that they're not like villains, but they might do some things if they have to do it to get the job done, but they always kind of be fighting for the right thing. So I feel like maybe we have characters before the Authority is established, like the Engineer, who feel strongly about maybe, this is what I find so fascinating. She's saying she wants what Lex wants. We know what Lex wants without knowing everything, that he probably feels like the world should be regulated with heroes. Like, he feels like Superman is a prime example for limiting mankind's potential. Like, you're just there. Like, again, I've said this many times. Gunn has even said this recently. It is very Luthor Man of Steel with how they project Luthor's psychology in that comic book. It's a very good example. And maybe I'm showing those panels for the billionth time again on screen. But he has worked so hard, and this is me paraphrasing Gunn here, and then you have this guy in a red cape, chiseled chin, just like there, like doing all of this stuff, right? And sure, it's not Lex Luthor just going, wah, oh, look at you, yeah, I've worked so hard. No, there's more to it than that. I think he has this ideology to better humanity, as Nicholas Hoult said. One that, of course, you can question the ethics of how he goes about it. And the more we learned about that, Gunn even said that Oppenheimer obviously felt bad and kind of reflected upon what he had created. Luthor just wouldn't. He would be like, it's necessary to further humanity. How Superman feels about doing the right thing and how life is of the utmost importance. You do not kill and stuff like that. Luthor feels about scientific progression. So I think all of this is just wrapped into one bubble. And maybe, I don't know how they're going to ground this truly back to the Engineer's character, because she is a metahuman herself, but maybe she wants metahumans, and this could go on into the Authority a little bit, to be controlled, because in this world that's had metahumans around for a long time, as Gunn has said, they've existed for a long time, and there's more of them today than there used to be, and they're more of an issue today than they used to be. Just because she's a metahuman, it doesn't mean that she wouldn't feel like they don't also need to be, put on a certain level, and she's more than happy to enact that as kind of like a force for working on behalf of Luthor. Now, what I'm still hopeful of is that she won't really endorse Luthor by the end of the movie. She may have felt like she had a similar ideology to better humanity with the way Lex is presenting it, but she realizes that, oh, we're not as similar as or like-minded as I had originally thought, so she then would go off, in theory, to join the Authority, co-create the Authority, whatever, and they then enact their own way of trying to better the world in the world of this somewhat, as we've gone on about before, somewhat reverse Kingdom Come climate of superheroes. And again, if you're brand new here, all I mean by that is in Kingdom Come, superheroes have been around for a very, very long time that, again, as Gunn says, in the DCU, they're more of an issue today than they used to be. It's hard to kind of keep a lid on things, so this is why it's believable that, maybe heroes have got to this status quo, this current parameter of maybe you kind of work on behalf of a corporate, you're sponsored heroes. You don't have as much autonomy anymore. Maybe you're a bit more policed by the government. Maybe you actually work on behalf of Argus. Maybe you work on behalf of an entity like Luthor Corp and Lex Luthor to help police things. But Superman is one of the few metahumans, but, not really aliens, to operate outside that, which pisses all kinds of people off. She wants something specific, what Lex wants, and her character is grappling with what price you're willing to pay. Well, that will probably go back into what I was saying with, by the end of the movie, hopefully, to make her more comic accurate and not be a villain, she's like, I'm not willing to pay the price that you're requesting of me, Mr. Luthor. I may want similar things to you, but you're telling me to do this, that, and the other, and I don't know if I'm willing to pay that price to, So maybe it's something like that. Right now, we don't know much about the Engineer, and I really want the next trailer to feature quite a bit of her. I am glad that we saw a bit more about her in the behind the scenes, but obviously we just saw her with James Gunn and all the Lex Troopers and Ultraman there. I'm not asking for loads. I think what would be cool is a somewhat similar thing to, because sometimes her powers can operate like Cyborg, where she can literally get a gun. And I remember some of the first set photos of her in a harness were her up there floating in the harness and having her arms out like this, as if they were doing CGI or testing something like that to be like, okay, I can form weapons out of my arm through the liquid nanotech stuff. And so I'm hoping, even if we don't get a full-bodied Engineer look, even just a little Matrix, maybe what you're seeing on screen right now, liquid approaching, that would be enough. I'd be like, okay. But yeah, for all we know, maybe she could be quite crucial. And if she's like, you know what, feck you, Luthor, she uses her abilities to take down what Luthor is doing, because she has incredible abilities to also hack things with her powers and stuff like that. So maybe that could be quite instrumental in what makes Luthor look like this in the film. We're going to have to wait and see. So Coconut Person says, with some of the shots that were shown of the set of Luthor looking kind of devastated, and with what Holt has spoken about the character, how he considers him to be sort of right in the movie and how different it is from previous iterations, Luthor may not be as mustache twirling as originally presented. I definitely think he's going to have some redeeming qualities in this film without taking away from the fact that he's still the bad guy. Compare it more to Michael Keaton's Vulture, or maybe even Paul Dano's Riddler in that last sense. With Luthor, I don't know if I could, again, I haven't seen the film, so it's probably premature for me to say things like this, but I don't know if there's going to be redeeming qualities with those, like, compared to those examples you gave, like Vulture. We understood how he got into that. Paul Dano's Riddler, we understand how he got to where he got to. And it's not like I'm not saying through Luthor's ideology and requirement to want to better humanity and his compulsion to further science by any means necessary. There will be that angle where it's like, okay, you technically want to better humanity, but you're like such a dictator with such conviction about it that it's either your way or the highway. Can I have empathy for that in the same way I've had some form of like mild compassion? You could, because the best villains are ones that, we all like one-dimensional. It's always fun to cause a bit of chaos and go crazy, but you don't want to be too one-dimensional sometimes, because adding that little facet of, okay, you can't condone anything this guy's done, but you see how he got there. You see maybe this trauma of the past, or he's going about something the wrong way like Luthor might be, but it's all in an effort for a perseverance and a sheer blind will to do the right thing in their version of the right thing in their head. Nicholas Holt's Luthor comes from more of a place to me, and Lex Luthor in general, as a place of a man who has so much intellect and power through his company, his own perspective and drive to, better humanity. And there could even be things you might understand of how, maybe metahumans in a kind of kingdom come, reverse kingdom come state in the world, trying to correct that in a certain way, or regulate that rather. He wants to be, Luthor himself, the man of tomorrow, the one who is making a change, not this Superman. There's all sorts of ego and typical like pitfalls to the character that we can love to resent about the egotistical Luthor, right? But at the same time, we could still maybe be like, but, he's still really, as Nicholas Hoult really, and you'll see him kind of say sometimes, like, I don't think he's actually so wrong in some ways. There's clearly something in the movie that he's really pushing for. I don't know, I could go round and round and round in circles about that one forever, but we're going to have to wait and see. Very intrigued. Let me put it that way, though. This is, I hope he's really well written. I hope that his motivations are well written. If they're not, I will call it kind of like, hey, Nuclear Assault was amazing, but okay, I get what Gunn was writing here, but this was lacking there. So I really hope, you would hope, that his motivations and the way that's fleshed out in the script and the way Gunn attempts to humanize him at the same time won't come across as one-dimensional, and if anything, has this multifaceted but also excellent villainous version of this man that you can kind of get, but also like, yeah, feck you at the same time. So Freakpool74 says, hey Boba, been a big fan. I've been watching your channel ever since the Batman 2 videos back in 2022. Thank you very much. I wanted to get your thoughts on what we might see in the Superman official trailer that should be coming soon. Just give your overall pitch for what the trailer could show us. Well, I would do that, but hey, I've made a whole video that maybe you're seeing somewhere on the screen that is all about that. So I recommend clicking on it. I'll leave it at the end card of this video. I'll leave it in a card up there or in the description down below, or all three of those. That is literally a wish list of things that I wanted to see in the official trailer. Now, since I made that video, we did get the sneak preview. We got that behind the scenes look, which this video is kind of about, but it's still about the official trailer. So definitely check it out. I think that's where I'm going to end this video. It's felt great nerding out about Superman once again. We will be doing this again, don't worry, maybe sometime after the official trailer, because we are literally about to enter May. The Superman official trailer, dare I say it? Dare I say it should be coming this month. Now, when, as of right now, I don't know, but I refuse to believe it's coming in June, so we're going to have to get it this month. We will do a breakdown, hopefully maybe a reaction, we'll have to wait and see, but I'll probably do another discussion series video based off of all the theories and stuff we could get into from whatever brand new stuff we get in that official trailer. And that new trailer should have dialogue, heavy story teasing, and things like that. So I am ready for it. But let me know your thoughts on everything we dug into in today's video. Like this video if you did enjoy it. Consider subscribing if you want to stay up to date on live streams, new videos, everything like that. But that's everything. So I hope you all have a bloody fantastic, lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you fellow Kryptonians in the next video. Goodbye.